Okay. So we can go ahead to the next slide and the next one. So what we're going to be talking about today is reducing the fear and the stigma around talking about healthcare. You can go to the next slide. So what we're going to do today is consider your life values and their impact on your wishes for your future healthcare. We're going to learn how to talk to people about your wishes and also review the healthcare planning decisions, the resources, and these documents that you're being given today. So also you want to learn how to share your healthcare planning documents with others. A lot of times people will, let's say, do a will, and this is not about wills and trusts. This is not. This is about you. But a lot of times we don't share that information with people because we think, well, I'm not going to tell so-and-so because so-and-so going to get mad. This one you want to tell everyone so they won't get mad, and it's okay. Because they can get mad because this decision is all about you. This is the one time you get to make decisions for yourself. And it should be personal, and it should be, you can be all about me. And this is where it helps, because this is all about you, okay? And then we'll discuss what to do when you review and update your documents. So we're gonna try and have a little bit of fun here. So you can go to the next slide. So why do you think we should plan for future health care? Yes. That's true, because you don't know the future. All right. I'm going to let her do this presentation. Go ahead. You got it. Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Not only for you to have this prepared for your loved ones, because I was in a situation where my mom was not able to communicate and she didn't have these things situated. Mm-hmm. So it was a big guessing game. Yes. And when you don't know the livelihood, if they're going to pass tonight or they're going to, there's going to be a miracle, we believe for the miracle, yes. But you don't know, but then these things are not, it causes so much more stress to the situation, mm-hmm. because now a family member is having to make these decisions for you, and that person has to live with that decision.
Exactly. That has been witnessed so many times, I'm sure, by so many people. Someone becomes ill that they didn't know was going to be that ill, and then it's all of a sudden you have to make a decision. So you've got family standing around the hospital bed going, what do we do? And the doctor's saying, this is what we're going to do. And you're like, I don't know if that's what she wants. What should we do? So then it's like, who makes those decisions when you can't make them for yourself? And so this is a very, very serious question and something to seriously think about. Who do I want taking care of me? I can tell you right now at the offset, I want my son to do it because my daughter already, I was in the kitchen one day and I was cooking and she was over and a commercial came on with, a place for mom. And she goes, see, look, Mom, you're going to be perfectly happy there. I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to change my will. She ain't making decisions for me because I already know what she going to do. And so you have to think about that because you may be thinking, yeah, I'm going to have this person do it for me. And that person may be like, yep, that's a great place for her to be, and we're going to be great. So you have to really think about that. So when you think about your future planning, one of the things here on this slide, it says 50% of the people, that's half the people in this room, will become incapacitated and thus be unable to make their own healthcare decisions. And we think, like I said, we're all perfectly healthy now. Well, not perfectly healthy, but we're pretty healthy. We got up this morning, we got here, our eyes open, we can hear, and we think, today's a good day, right? Right now is a good time. Right now is a good now, right? And so you have to think about that because someone in their 20s could easily have, an accident, slip and fall in the shower. They don't, don't think old people only want to slip and fall. People slip and fall in showers or tumble downstairs, or anything could happen, and they could be incapacitated and unable to make decisions for themselves. Now, that does not mean that that person's about to die. It's just that at that time, they can't make that decision. And so the decision then has to be made by somebody, right? And I'll tell you for a fact that physicians they're programmed to keep you alive, whatever it takes. And when we think about it, that's what we want. We want to be kept alive no matter what. But then maybe you don't want to be kept alive no matter what. And so those are the decisions that you have to make, and those are the things that people need to know. That's what today's presentation's about. Okay, so give that some thought. So you can go to the next slide. Why is it that you think that people have trouble sharing their wishes with people that matter to us? And I'll tell you, I can tell you, first off, I understand. When I brought up, children to my adult children, really adult, I'm going to do 5 wishes. And I said, so that you'll know what to do if something happens. And, and my daughter, again, got to watch her. She goes, oh, Mom, you're going to be here forever. Don't worry about that right now. I already told God that I cannot lose you until I get myself together. So you're going to be here a while. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what connection y'all got, but I ain't heard that part. So, and so the thing is that they don't want to talk about it. They're like, I don't want to talk about it. And then there are people that think that if you do talk about it, you're expecting me to die? Do you think I'm sick or whatever? And it becomes a hush-hush conversation, or a no conversation, basically. We're just not going to talk about that. Well, you have to talk about it. You really, 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 really do. It is a tough conversation, but you do have to talk about it. And so also you want to talk about it with your healthcare provider. You want to make sure that your healthcare provider knows what you want also, because again, as I said, their main goal is to keep you alive. And if you don't tell them what you want, they're going to do just that. So I want you to remember that. And so a lot of times when you go to your doctor's office, they'll ask you now, do you have a healthcare document? And this is called the 5 wishes, and this one is called the life care planning document. And I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail with these as we go through the program. So it's good for them to also know what you want. What are the benefits of planning? People know what you want. Your doctors will know what you want. And as I heard Linda say earlier, finding a good doctor. And that is one that knows your name, looks at your face when you go to their office, and knows you. And if you don't have one of those, find one. Fight to find a good one. You may have to go through several. I had one doctor that I would go to, and he was really, he was a nice guy, but I would walk into the office, and he'd come in, and he'd go, hey, sweetie, how are you doing today? So I see here that, you have well, we're going to give you a couple pills, and let me know how that works, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, Dal. He never looked up. I don't even think he knew who I was, and the fact that he kept calling me sweetie. But so what I did was I did a little research, and I found a doctor. I found a doctor that when I walk into her office, she goes, how are you today, Tandela? How's retirement treating you? And I just retired in May. How's retirement treating you? That's good. So how are the kids? She remembers that, that I adopted little people. Yeah, I actually have a 5 and a 6-year-old. Kindergarten and 1st grade, thank God, they're both in school. So, and so she remembers that. And so then she goes, so how are you feeling? How has your shoulder been? How has this been? Have you seen the rheumatologist? All the things that she knows, that she's referred me to, she knows. And now she may have, in the 5 minutes that, after they take your blood pressure and they leave and they said the doctor will be in a minute, she may have been back there going, okay, what's going on with her? She might have been in a review, but she did that. but she did that, and that's what's important. So it's sometimes really hard to find a great physician, but do your best to find one. Just keep searching, and as Linda said, African American, Indian, Asian, I just need somebody that is really looking at my paperwork, my charts, my blood tests, and understanding my body at that time so that they can help me stay as healthy as I can be. So really do that. So those are some of the benefits of planning. So how do you start? You want to start with a personal reflection of what you want. And so that includes asking yourself the question of, what does dying look like? What does dying look like for me? Now, I don't know about you, but my whole thing is, I want to go in my sleep because I don't want to be tortured, and, I don't want to be in pain. And that's usually, when people think if I got to go and I have to pick the way to go, I want to go the most quietest, softest way, right? But it doesn't always happen that way. And so you have to think about, what does death look like for me? What would my death be like? And so you want to think about things about your health care, where you're at, any illnesses or diseases that you might have that you're dealing with. And so, like I said, this is all about you. This is not about the children or spouses or any of that. This is totally all about you. Make it personal. Look in the mirror and say, this is about me. This is what I want. And so you think about, what do you want? If you were sick and you couldn't make decisions for yourself, do you want a feeding tube? Do you want to be resuscitated? Do you want to be at home? Do you want to be in a nursing home? Do you want to be in hospice? Do you want to stay at the hospital? Those are all the things that you need to think about, because this is about you living your best life until you're not living anymore. And that best life goes all the way up to the hello, Jesus. That's your life. So keep that in mind. What is it that you want? So now, next slide is, do your homework first. Definitely do your homework. Understand your state of health, whether you're in good health, whether you're in deteriorating health, whether you have a chronic or an acute illness. Questions ask your doctor when you go to see them. This is why you need a good one who knows you, at least researches you when they come out to see you, is, can you tell me, what can I expect from this diagnosis that you've given me? How long, you can ask them, how long do you think I have to live? What would my life look like in 3 years or 5 years? And again, as the questions you asked earlier too, is there anything I can do to prolong this, or I can, can I do something to change this as I go? And these are questions you want to ask them. So your treatments and things that are available to you, do you see any cures on the horizon for this particular illness and that sort of thing? So do your homework, make a list. You have a doctor's appointment on August 29th. You got 2 weeks to start writing down your questions, things I want to ask my doctor about what's going on with me. And you are the only person who knows that, mostly. So that, I've had this pain in my shoulder for 2 weeks. I need to talk to them about this. And it's not the way I sleep, blah, 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 whatever that is. Or, I have this constant stomach ache, or I'm constantly, constipated, or constantly have diarrhea, whatever it is. Or I'm noticing, even if it's as simple as I'm noticing my hair falling out. Where'd it go? Whatever, yeah, I'm sorry. Whenever I start talking, excuse me. And so you want to make sure that you write all those things down that you want to say to your doctor about what's going on with you. Because you want to know, well, do I have 6 months? What do you think? Do I have 20 years? For me, I have counted with the 5 and the 6-year-old. I need at least 13 more years. I want 20. Don't get me wrong. I want 20, 25, but I need at least 13 because I want her to be 18 before I go. It's really important because she's really attached, and that's okay. So you ask all these questions, what can I do, and things like that. And so then you either change your lifestyle, take whatever medications you need to take, and do what you need to do to help prolong your life. Again, remembering that if you go into an emergency room or if you go into the hospital for whatever illness or things you may have for treatment, their main goal is going to be to keep you alive as long as possible. So they're going to pump you with drugs, they're going to pump you with needles and medications and all kinds of things that you may not want. You may decide that you know what, I think I've lived long enough. I think I'm okay with what I've done with my life, and if I have to go, then I go, and I don't want that. Because that might be painful, that might be uncomfortable, and if you can't make that decision for yourself, how do they know it's uncomfortable? How do they know whether or not it's hurting you? We don't know if a person in a coma can hear. We think they can, but we don't know, and so, but you are laying there and you may hear everything that's going on and all this, but you're like, I can't say anything. I can't even raise my finger. I need them to know this. This is your time to get them to know what it is that you want, okay? So let's just talk a little bit about care. Next slide, palliative and hospice care. So palliative care is, you want to live as well as possible for as long as possible. There's curative care. That's where you have an illness and they give you treatment and they can cure it. They can cure whatever it is you had, pneumonia or the flu, and they cure it. Palliative care is that continuous care you have as you're going through an illness. There's no cure for it, but they can continue to, give you medications, and you can pretty much, live okay with palliative care. You just take your medications and keep going to work, because for some reason there's very little that makes you, disabled these days. You can pretty much keep working until, you drop. Nobody's stopping you from working. I'm so glad I didn't. So anyway, and then there's hospice care, where the physicians feel that there's nothing else they can do, and the probability of you being around much longer isn't very good. But understand something about hospice care. People get it, oh, he's in hospice. People have come out of hospice. So it's okay. Don't let hospice be the end all. It's like, you think they're at a bad point, which at that point they probably are, but people have recovered and come out of hospice. So hospice isn't the end all. The end all, of course, is the hello Jesus, death. That is the end all. And then that's God's decision. So just knowing the difference between the three. So the other thing is, on the next slide, is the difference between the two. With palliative care, it can be paid for by yourself or your insurance. It can be at any stage of a disease. It's the same as a curative treatment. Their goal is to try and help you live a comfortable, normal life. And this sometimes happens, and typically happens, in the hospital. With hospice care, it can be paid by Medicare or Medicaid or insurance, and look into that. That's not necessarily a lawyer thing, but look into your Medicare or your health care and see if it's something they pay for. Most hospice care is usually not, it's usually free or very low cost, as people want you to be comfortable. And it can you can have a prognosis of 6 months or less when you're in hospice care. But again, as I said, that's not the end all. And then, excuse me, it excludes any curative treatment, because at this point they don't think that any of that will work. And whatever you want or wherever you want to be is where hospice will come. So if it's at home, if they say, okay, this person needs to go into hospice, you can do it at the hospital, you can do it at a hospice care facility, or if you decide home is where you want to be, hospice will come to you at your house. And that includes actually working with the families too. So it's not just you. They'll work with your loved ones and your relatives that are there with you. And it's not just a we're here to keep you comfortable thing either. There is also, with really good hospice care, which it is these days, because people that go into hospice are extremely caring people. It's not just, I'm just going to make sure this person's got their medicine and everything, and I got to go to lunch. It's not that. They may not be able to sit with you all day, but they will actually talk to you about how you feel, about what's going on. So there's a lot that goes into hospice. with the proper hospice care, which is really, really good. The things they have in common is the comfort care, the reduced stress, which helps to reduce stress for you and reduce stress for your family and your loved ones. And it offers that complex system relief related to serious illness, and of course that physical and psychological relief. So just keep that in mind on hospice. Are there any questions so far? Cool, okay. So next slide. This slide here, CPR. CPR, we didn't think about CPR. Now I don't want to scare anybody, but I know, everybody knows what CPR is, and you've seen it in the movies. They're like, give them CPR, and boom, 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 and then they all but jump up off the table. Everything is good. That's the movies. The truth of the matter is, is that CPR, it was designated to save troops on the battlefield. It was never intended to be used with frail and elderly or those with end-stage diseases. 15% of the people who have CPR live through it. 15%, okay? So your chances of living through CPR in hospital is 20%, all right? People with late stages of cancer, 1% survival. Elderly, frail, those with chronic medical conditions, they are least likely to live after CPR. 50% will have brain damage that will never get better. 97% will have broken ribs because they really have to push on you to get your heart pumping because your heart's underneath the rib, and most times your ribs are going to break. And 59% will have bruising to their chest. And those are the known complications that you need to know about. So you have to think about this. Is this something I want? Do I want, especially, for me, my mother weighed like 97 pounds. I'm like, no CPR. We're not doing that because you're just going to crush her. She also didn't have any of these documents into place. I didn't even know about these documents when my mother was dying. I wish I had. But those are things you have to think about. However, I remember when my mother was younger and she had told me, she goes, do everything you can. I want to linger and ganger. Leave me here. Do whatever you got to do. Keep me alive. I'm like, okay, Mom. But if your heart were to stop, they're going to do CPR. If you're in a hospital and you don't designate whether or not you want this done, they're going to do it, whether your family wants it or not. It's going to be a really tough thing to say. Sometimes doctors will, adhere to a close loved one and say, okay, if they don't want CPR, we won't do it. Well, like in my case, they like, we won't do it. I'm like, don't do that to her. But other doctors, if you're not there, that's the day that you decided I'm going to do some errands, and then I'm going to go see her. They doing it while you gone. And you're just like, you don't know what's going on. But having this paperwork in place is going to protect that person or you from having that happen if it's not something that you want, okay? All right, let me get okay, there we go. So next slide. I'm going to show you a quick video, really quick, that talks about the end of life. And what it might look like, and reflecting on honoring your wishes. So you can go ahead and run the video.
Whether it's schools or doctors or spouses, I feel that they should bring up this end-of-life discussion early. When he passed, he was 71, lived together 24 years. Married 23 years. 6'3", which defined him, his height defined him. And he was a punner. That was another thing that defined him. He would just rattle them off one after the other. He became ill several years ago with kidney cancer and had a kidney removed. And then little by little, the second kidney began to fail. I tried to have that end-of-life discussion with him over the last 5 years, and he was so reticent. Never really was willing to have a conversation. He would say, I don't want to linger, or things like that. And, from that I had to extrapolate So it wasn't until he was really almost gone that I was able to say, look, is this what you want? It was hard to do. It's not an easy conversation to have. I think it's embarrassing in some ways for even a health professional to bring up. But having the end-of-life discussion documented nails that down, because once you have it, your closest relative has it, your hospital has it, possibly your lawyer has it, you're pretty well covered, and you save yourself worry, you save your loved ones worry, you ensure that you're going to get what you want to get. I think it's a very good idea to start in your mid-20s and just make it part of the everyday conversation so it's not difficult to have.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's something that you want to think about is your end of life, because you never know what they want. Next slide. So I lost it on my iPad, long story short. Anyway, I'm going to turn around, but excuse my back so I can see, because I can't see that one back there. So anyway, you start questions to answer before your first conversation. What role do you want your circle of support to play in your advanced care planning? Let me look in this box. Think about what role you want people to play and which people you want to play any role at all. Again, like I said, my daughter, she's on the bottom of the list. Okay. And so how much do you think your circle of support already know about what you want at the end of life? How many of you think that your parents or your spouse or your loved ones know about what you want? You think they know what you want? You must have 5 wishes done. Do they know what you want? Yeah, and that's why they know what she wants, because she's got it written down. So what you're being passed out, a few of you will have, is this thing called the Go Wish thing, and we're going to talk about that in a few seconds. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to list the people that you trust. And we always think, well, you know, I trust my spouse, I'm sorry, I'm divorced twice. I would never have trusted my spouse to make these decisions for me. I'm sorry, Lord. But because you just never know. It's like, they might not really like you as much as you think they do. Anyway, so your spouse, your oldest child, that's usually the first thing. You go to that oldest child. You may go to a sister or a parent, or an aunt or an uncle. It does not have to be a relative. It can be your best friend. It can be your teacher. It can be your next door neighbor. That is the cool thing about having control of your life. You get to decide who you're going to trust with this. What 1 or 2, and I suggest 2 or 3 people that you want to be in control of your life when you cannot be in control of your life, okay? So list the people you trust and list the 10 most important things that you want your friends and family to know about your wishes. Next slide. So what we've got is these Go Wish cards. And you can also do it online, and in a minute I'll show you the online link. So what's in this packet, and you can open it, what's in this packet are some cards. And it just says things like, you know, what concerns you, or how you feel about this, or you want peace, you want this or that. And so what you do with this is you take 3 rows. You take these cards and you lay them out on a table. Well, you shuffle, you don't have to shuffle them, doesn't matter. You make yourself 3 rows. The top one being the most important, the second one being somewhat important, and the last row being the least important. And then as you go through the cards, you place them in first, second, or third order of whether it's very important to you, whether it's somewhat or at least important. And as you go through the cards, you may change it. Well, that's maybe not as important as this, and shift them around. That helps you to tell your people what you want, and it helps you understand what you want as you go through these cards. It's really, really cool. It's a fun game. I've played it with, I shouldn't say played it, but I've played it with my kids. They don't like it, but I make them do it anyway. And it helps them to understand what I want and where I'm coming from. It's one thing to just say, this is what I want in story, but it's another thing to help people understand why you're making the decisions that you're making. It's one to just say, I don't want to be resuscitated in the story. Why not? Well, here's why. You can explain it from your point of view. Remember, this is all about you. Each of you individually, this is all about you and nobody else. And no one can argue with what you want. It's kind of like when you got up this morning and combed your hair, you combed it the way you wanted to. You put on the clothes you wanted to wear today, the shoes you felt like putting on, right? This is your decision, and you don't have to care what anybody else thinks about it. They can be upset, they don't have to like it, but it's your decision because it is your life. I know it sounds like, yeah, it's you, it's all about you. This one is all about you. It really, really is. And own that, because that's what it's all about. Please own that, okay? Next slide. So I want you to, and again, here's the website. You can do it online if you want for those, tech-savvy people who want to play it online. It goes the same way. And you can do it online without the cards, and you can shift them around as they go. And then you can keep it, or you can print it. And you can print it out and say, here is what I want. Here's what's most important. This is what's okay, and this is what isn't as important to me. And that helps people understand why you're making the choices that you're making. Okay, next slide. At any time, you can stop me and ask questions. So there was a little video embedded in here, but I'm not sure if that one's going to play, and that's okay. Because what it's about is having the conversation and starting the conversation. And that's the thing. It's like, how do you start the conversation? And so what you want to do is you want to gather the people from your list that on the top of your list that are most important that you want to know things about. So if it's your kids, your spouse, your parents, your aunts or uncles, a good time to do it, unfortunately, is when everybody's all together. And that's usually at a picnic, food involved. Have a barbecue and invite them all over. You got them all in one place. Otherwise, I'm not going over there to talk about that with her. No, invite them all. I got food. People always come for food. So invite them over, and as they're having their good time, turn off the music and say, hey, I need to talk to you all about something. I've been thinking about, how I want to live the rest of my life. And you start talking to them, and these are things that I've determined. I've decided that what's really important to me is this. What's, not important to me is this. For example, I've told my kids it's not important to me to have a big funeral. It's more important to me to have the people that I talk to on a regular basis and that care about me, that you see me hanging with. It's really, really important that those people be informed of what's happening with me, okay? And they're like, oh, okay. I said, I don't want a funeral. I know my brothers are having a fit about that. Well, you're not having a funeral? I said, no, I'm not having a funeral. I'm not. You can have a memorial service if you want. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm more interested in the people in my life right now, okay? And so that's how I feel. That doesn't have to have anything to do with how you feel. Do the funeral, do whatever you want to do. But those are my decisions. So I had them over, and I'm like, these are the things that I like and, what I care about and what I want. And they were like, oh, okay, all right, fine. So if there's someone in your family, let's say, for example, you might want to go home and have this conversation with a parent, an older parent, and say, Mom, Dad, I want to talk to you about dying. Have you thought about it? And of course, their first response might be, why did somebody tell you something? Do you think I'm sicker than I am? and just say no. I just want to make sure that your wishes are honored at your time. And that's what you want to, how you want to start it, okay? Again, just talk to them and say, you know, I'm really concerned and I want to make sure that we do the right thing for you. When you can't do it, I want to be able to know what you want. And they get to decide who makes those decisions. And so you can tell them, it doesn't have to be me. If you want it to be John, that's fine. If you want it to be Sarah, that's cool too. But we need to put this in order so that when the time comes, we know what to do. Okay? Yes.
And all that stuff, and how your brother was like, you don't want to. Okay, so, for example, say you have a family member, and like they said they want to be cremated, right? And then you have a supreme part of the family. It's like that's not what we do. Right? So what is the proper way? Because I said supreme person, so it may be a parent to this person, right? What is the proper way of him? Because like you said, you know, yeah, that's that person's life. And they, you know, they just choose what they want to do, whatever, right? And the first thing I said was, you better put that thing in writing, because they ain't going to let that happen.
You got to put that in writing, because if you don't put it in writing, they're gonna do it anyway.
But what's the best way to for that person to convey? Probably need to record this. The best way is for that person to convey that to them, because one is not, they're not trying to disrespect
Right.
the family, but they just feel that way.
Right.
But majority of the family feel totally opposite of that.
It's sometimes difficult, and I know because I'm in that spot where I'm going to be probably the first person in my entire family is going to be cremated. And I've made that decision for several reasons. Number one, financial. And it was something, believe it or not, my mother actually told me when she was younger and we were younger, and she said, don't put that money in the ground. That's all she said. She said, don't put that money in the ground. I'm gone. I don't care. And I've thought about that, and I'm like, this is true, because, you know, I don't have no money to put in the ground because I'm spending mine now anyway. But, you know, so what I did was I set everything up for my cremation so they don't have to worry about how to do my hair and what clothes to put on me and what flowers to have and what should the obituary say and all these other things. All those things are, for me, they're not important. What's important to me is up until the minute I say hello, Jesus, is being comfortable. And that's what's important. After I die, it doesn't matter. Has anyone come back and told you, I didn't like my funeral? Those flowers made me sneeze. No, none of that. Exactly. And so it's hard to get them to understand that. And I'm telling my family now, I understand it's been the thing, but I'm starting a new thing. I'm going to be cremated, and this is how it's going to work. If you want to honor me, do it now. Have a barbecue, bake me a cake, do it now. Because after that, it's you know, you can have the memorial service and you can remember me and you can tell friends what you thought of me, and that's all fine and good, but you don't have to, it doesn't have to cost you $25,000 to do it. And that's just the bottom line for me. It really is. It's a cash thing. I'm like, that's a lot of money. I know, because I spent a lot of money burying my parents, and I'm like, and my mother told me, don't put that money in the ground. She told me not to, but the family, and so now I'm going to help my family. Don't do it. It's not necessary for my family, not anyone else's. So it's difficult, and even if it's an older person, so I understand how you feel, and I know it's tradition, I know it's our culture, and we're supposed to do this. I would love for you to have a big party after I'm gone. And you can celebrate me. You can celebrate my life, but you don't need a casket and a burial and a hearse and all that to do it with. You know, and just keep talking about it and say, I hope you really understand, you know, how I feel, because this is my life and this is, you know, how I want it to end. This is how I'm going to do it. But it is tough. It's a tough conversation, let me tell you. So I understand that. And so you want to let people know what you want. Any other questions? Next slide. So, things that you should write down and why you should write them down. Your advanced care directive, and that's what these are, advanced care directive allows you to appoint a decision maker for medical treatment and state your instructions for future health care, what you want and what you do not want. This is the most safe and reliable way to make your health care wishes known if you are unable to communicate this to others. This is the safest way. Here's the cool thing. No lawyer needed. No lawyer needed. You only need a notary when you register your paperwork, and we'll talk about that, which is really, really, really neat. Okay, next slide. So, what is it? There are 2 documents, and there's no specific document to Arizona, and also these documents are accepted in at least 47 of the other 50 states in the United States. So you can either use both, or you can use one or the other. There's no real difference in them. It's just the way things are set out. This is the Attorney General's copy, and what it includes is the healthcare power of attorney, which lets people know how you want to be cared for, the mental health care power of attorney, which is if you are mentally incapacitated and can't make decisions for yourself. And a lot of times with the mental health care power of attorney, people who, let's say, have a mental illness will let people know that they have that, so that if they make any decisions for themselves, someone can do that for them while they're mentally incapacitated. The living will, which tells people what you want right now, and your pre-hospital medical care, the DNR as it's called, and that's the orange sheet, and it must be orange. And the DNR is that document, and the reason why it's separated is because you can use it with either this one or this one, but it doesn't go with it. What it does is if you fill that out, that's to tell paramedics when they get to your house, I do not want to be resuscitated. And the reason it's in bright orange is so that if you want to fill that out and you don't want to be resuscitated, so example, you have a heart attack and you're on the floor and people come in, they're gonna do a scan. And if they find that document, they're not gonna do CPR on you. They're not gonna do it because that document tells them that. Now, if you don't want that done, if you want them to do CPR, hide that, or just don't even take it home. Don't even take it home. Just like rip that up and put that in the garbage, shred that baby. I don't see. But if you don't want to be resuscitated, leave it in usually people pin it on their refrigerators, and that's where they'll look, because people put stuff on the refrigerator. And they'll look for that, and if they see that bright orange paper, they're going to read it, then they'll know. There's also, if I'm not mistaken, on the bottom of it, a little card that you can carry. There should be a piece of it, might be a piece that you can cut off and keep in your wallet. So in case you fall out in somewhere else, they'll go through your wallet. Someone will go through your wallet. Unfortunately, someone's always going to go through your personal things, and they'll find that orange card that says they don't want to be resuscitated, okay? There's another cool thing about these documents I'm going to tell you about. Next slide. So this is, again, the Attorney General's copy, which you can fill out. And in this document, it tells you how to do everything, which is extremely cool. All the instructions are right here. And then there's a checklist, okay? And then on this checklist, it says once you're done, you can email this. Now, you can do this on the computer, and there'll be a slide that shows you the website. You can go either to the Attorney General's office, and there's a link that says End of Life Documents, and this document right here will come up. You can save it as a PDF and put it on your computer, and you can type it in. You don't have to try to write it in, and then, because if you change it, you got to get another one and change it. So either way, whatever is best for you, and I've got 1 million copies, so you can take more than one if you want. And I encourage you to take as many as you want, because you may want to share them with other family members also, okay? And then what you do is you can send this document, the original and all the copies are as good as the original. So that's the other cool thing. You don't have to worry about this is the copy, this is the original. The original and any copies you make are as good as the original. The only thing that'll change is when you change it is changing the date on it. And so that will be the thing you'll have to do, is make sure the date is changed. And if you have given it to several people, let them know, here's a new one, it's updated, tear the other one up. The doctors are going to have it. When you send this or this to the Healthcare Directors Registry here in Arizona, they have it. They scan it and they have it. You'll get a card back from them that says we have it. You carry that in your wallet. If you're in Tennessee, if you're in Memphis, if you're in Florida, and you have an accident and you have your card on you, they can look up your advanced care directives and know what to do. They will contact your first person. You get to list who you want. They'll contact your first person and say, we have Sarah Jones here, and I have her healthcare advanced care directive. I want you to know what's going on. That's what they will do. So that's the really cool part, is that you either carry it with you. I always encourage people, make tons of copies. Really, make tons of copies. And pack one in a suitcase, keep it in your suitcase, your favorite suitcase that you take when you're traveling, so that you have it with you just in case. This is not, predicting anything. It's just like you take a spare tire. Take it with you, and therefore you have it with you, and everyone will know what you want. Cause in this one, I love the 5 wishes. I've done the 5 wishes. I've changed it like several times. You can do the same thing with this. If there's not enough paperwork in here and not enough lines for you to fill out what you want, you can add a sheet into it. It's okay. You can add to it. You can type it up separately and stick it right in there. It all becomes a part of your 5 wishes. What I like about this one is you just check off what it is that you want, and if it's not what you want, you black line it out. You can add additional things. What I really liked about this one is what I added to mine. And I told my kids, I said, I put things in there like, I do not want to be in a quiet room, whether it's hospital or home. I don't want everybody to be shh, shh, shh. I want my jazz playing. I want the kids in here playing games and having fun and laughing, and they can jump all over me. Don't get down. No, let them jump all over me. Let them hug me. Let them kiss me. I want my friends here. I don't want a closed room. If people want to pray, I want them to be able to do that. I don't want everybody going, shh. No, because that's not how I live. Okay? I live loud. I do. I live loud. I love jazz. My music is playing. The kids are playing. We build forts on the furniture. That's how we live, and that's how I want my last moments to be, just like I live. I don't want anybody to be afraid to say stuff. If they want to come in and talk to me. If I can't talk back, keep talking anyway, because you don't know whether or not I can hear you. And so I put that in here. The other thing I put in there are specifics. I want you to make sure that I have lotion on my feet and legs, because I hate for my feet to be dry. You can put that in here. I'm like, somebody please keep some lotion on my feet, because they don't do that for you at the hospital. Somebody make sure my skin is soft. I don't want to be ashy, right? See? The other thing I told them, I said, and if I'm down to my last moments, I said, if I ask for a glass of red Moscato, give it to me. Do not tell me, she can't have that. Yeah, why not? I'm like, so there are specifics you can want. I want socks on, or I want this gown on, or, and I tell them what music I want playing, all of those things. I'm like, I need my life to just continue just like it is all the way up until the last minute. So those are things you can put in your 5 wishes. Those are things you should put in your 5 wishes so people know. And that's why it's a long process. It's not something you're going to go home, fill this out, and be all finished and set. You have to really think about this. Think about, who you want to comb your hair. Because people, I'm going to comb my hair. No, I ain't never let her comb my hair, but I'm going to let her comb it now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I want this gown. I want these pajamas. I want to watch that show. Yes, I like Maury. Put it on. I'm sorry. I know y'all can't stand it. But, if whatever it is, I want to watch QVC. What are they selling? I can't buy nothing anyway. Y'all took my cards. That kind of thing. Just make it real specific, because this is your life. This is your life all the way up to the end. Whatever it is you're going to do this afternoon and next week, all of that's a part of who you are. Why does that have to stop when you get sick? It doesn't. It shouldn't, because it's still your life. You're still breathing. This is what I want. So make sure that happens. The next slide. This is the important part. Again, those are the online versions. I'm sorry. This is the online version. Now, I can tell you that you can go to the Attorney General's website and you can find this copy. ICS took their link down because I don't work there anymore. Not because it was my thing, but because I don't work there anymore. But at the end of this slide, of the presentation, there's a slide that shows you the end-of-life coalition that's out of United Way, and there's a link there, and you'll be able to get these documents in PDF format. Okay. Next slide. And it's in English and Spanish. So this is the important part. Who speaks for you if you cannot speak for yourself? And this is the order. This is the order in which it goes. The Arizona legal order for consideration is the representative named in your healthcare document. That's the person or persons that you name. That's who speaks for you. If not, it's a surrogate person assigned that's not chosen by you. That could be the spouse, it could be the children, it could be the parent, it could be your next door neighbor, close friend. It could be the person that helped you out of the car after the accident. Do they know what you want? Do they even know you? No, but they could be the one making the decision. And your physicians, in consulting with another or a court-appointed guardian, and how much do they know about you? Exactly. You don't want that. That's why it's really important. That's why it's in orange. You want to name those people that you want to make those decisions for you. Next slide. Again, the healthcare representatives have equal power? No. The representative that you've chosen makes your healthcare decisions on your behalf and is limited only by the language in your document. So whatever is in here is all they can do. So the more you put in here, that's what they can do. The less you put in there, if that's what you want, that's what you want them to do, and that's fine. The surrogate, the person not chosen by you, will be authorized to make healthcare decisions if you can't make them for yourself, but they cannot consent to the permanent withdrawal of nutritional fluids. So they cannot say, take out the feeding tube. You guys remember the one story with the lady who was on the feeding tube for years. Her husband wanted it removed. Her parents did not. And it was a big fight in the courts back and forth for years. So for years, this woman was there on feeding tubes, and her husband kept saying, take her off. She's just existing. Her parents were like, no, leave her on it. You get to make that decision, because we don't know what she felt, because she couldn't make the decisions anymore. So that's really, really important. And I guess the best way to think about it is to think of yourself when you go lay down today for a nap, or tonight when you go to sleep. Just lay down in your bed and don't move. And think about not being able to move. Who do you want to bring you a glass of water? Who do you want to turn you over? Who do you want to, help you go to the bathroom? Or, that is a thought. When you lay there and you think about it, lay there and don't move. Feel incapacitated, and think about who you're going to call. Who would you call? That's a good way to help you make the decisions on who's going to come, who's going to say, oh, right now, or who's going to say, I'm on my way. Who's going to say, I'm going to do that, and who's going to say, I'm not doing that. So you have to give it some thought. It takes a lot. Like I said, you're not going to run home, fill these out, and be, gosh, got that taken care of. No, it might take you weeks, it may take you months. And you will be able to get help, okay? And I'll tell you about that too. Next slide. So, again, as I said before, it doesn't have to be your closest family member or even a relative. It can be anyone you choose. It has to be someone who's comfortable with making the decisions that you've made, doing what you ask them to do, not being afraid to talk to people in the hospital setting if that's the case, and that are likely to live longer than you do. That's important, okay? And that they're comfortable in a medical setting. So think about that, because there may be some people like, oh, I don't want to do that. You may say, I'd like for you to know, that's not my thing, and that's okay. It's not my daughter's thing. She's made that perfectly clear. She is not the first person named on the list. I don't think she's on the list, but anyway. She'll put me in a nursing home. Anyhow. So that is what you want to do. What do you do when you choose that person? Just really give it some serious thought. Okay, next slide. We're almost done here. I'm watching the clock. Okay, and what do you do with your healthcare directives? This is a cool thing right here. You share your documents with everybody, wide and far, especially with your physicians. But you share it with, obviously, the people you've chosen to make these decisions for you, and you share it with the rest of the family, and you share it with friends, because you don't want Sister Alice coming up saying, that's not what she wanted. She didn't tell me to tell Alice, too. Why you alive? Alice, I'm letting Sarah make the decisions. Don't fight with her. I'm telling you now, it's my choice for her to do. No, I don't want you to do it. Let them have that fight while you in there. You can referee that fight right there, right then and there, so that when the rubber meets the road, Sarah can go, sit down. Alice can go sit down because I told Sarah to do it, and everybody knows who's making the decision, so there is no fight. And you know how that goes, okay? And then again, email a hard copy to the Arizona Directives Registry. Photocopies are just as valid as the originals. Next slide. Then what do? And this is the fun part here. Okay, so you remember the 6 Ds. Every decade, this is when you update and change. Every decade, every divorce, or maybe none, that's cool. Any new diagnosis, and again, you want to have that conversation again with your doctors. A decline in your health, perhaps, or a death of someone who may be on the list, or someone else who may change the dynamics of what you have going on, or a disaster, pandemic. We just had one. We're still in one. Anyway, so what I do is every year, just so my kids don't forget that this is done, even though I've given them copies, Thanksgiving, because that's when all the family comes. I cook every Thanksgiving and everybody's there. And so before anybody gets a slice of sweet potato or pumpkin pie, I whip out the 5 wishes. I say, y'all got your copies? I got extra ones right here. Either I've updated it, and when I've updated it, I got extra copies for you. Here you go. They hate it, but that's what they got to do. Like, you're all here, and because they know, they're like, Thanksgiving, she's going to pull out the 5 wishes. Now they know. I've done it enough now that they know come Thanksgiving. They come in anyway because they want my food. So they know we're going to have this conversation about the 5 wishes, just so they remember what's going on. If I have any new diagnosis, I let them know, this happened. I talked to the doctor. They said this, because you can tell them that all along the year. And they're like, oh, really? Oh, my goodness. But that day, they all have to sit and listen. Football game is off. The kids are playing in another room, and the adults are at the table having this conversation because I'm holding the pie. You can't have this until this conversation's done. So you want to make sure you update. If there are any changes, update this, make extra copies of it, make tons of copies of it, pack one in your suitcase. I keep one in my purse just in case, because I'm on the road all the time, and if something happens, I want it in there. My doctor has it, all my specialists have it, so they know what's going on. Next slide. So once you've done that, then you review and you celebrate. You go through it and you celebrate. You reflect on what's important to you, and you let everyone know what's going on. It's a gift. This is a gift for your family members and your friends, because they now don't have to worry about standing around your bed wondering what you might have wanted. It's a done deal. It's really, really a done deal, and that's what's most important. So review. Make sure you know what's going on with you. You've talked to your physician, things that you understand. Have the conversation with them. Have those conversations anytime you want. If you go to a doctor's office and something changes, just have the conversation, especially with your key people, and then make your changes to your 5 wishes. Update it. Plan a date of, of food and fun and review. Okay, next slide. So, the Arizona End of Life Care Partnership, that is who you can talk to. They have these documents, they have people who can help you with them. Any questions you might have on them, they can answer those questions. It's ongoing. We started this program with the End of Life program, oh gosh, something like 8, 9 years ago. And we have been trying to get it all over Tucson and Pima County because we want everyone to have these documents done. It's like a will. You want to have this done. It's very, very important. So you can contact anyone at the Arizona End of Life Care Partnership with any questions, additional documents, downloads. Who do you talk to if you don't have someone to appoint? What do you do then? There's all kinds of things that you can do, and they are the experts. I worked under them, and they are the experts. So that's why I put that information there, endoflifecare.org, and on that website you'll see videos, you'll see information, you'll see the links to all the documents. Everything is there, okay? And that's their phone number. Next slide. And then also PCOA, Pima Council on Aging. They also have some help over on Broadway, and they can also give you information and help if you can't get through, but you should, without a doubt, be able to get through to the End of Life Partnership. Are there any questions? Yes?
Just going back to the partnership documents, and I'm glad you touched on revising it so often. So I sat down with my mom right after she had her strokes and things, and when I sat with her, that she was very indecisive. She didn't know what she wanted. So 6 months later, we sat down again, and she was better. But even now, we still my sister and I haven't fine-tuned it, just because she's still so indecisive. Any recommendation on how to, and we don't want to coerce or recommend,
Right.
even though my sister and I feel like we know better, this is how we should guide her, but at the same time, it's like,
It's her decision.
her decision.
Right.
And, she had none of this in place when she had her medical situation. And my sister and I found ourselves having to play different roles that we didn't expect to play. And we were undercover angry with her for not having these things in place and really trying not to treat her with anger or be, and we got over it. But
Yeah.
it's a really difficult place to be in. However, at the same time, initiating it and getting it, completed has still been difficult for us. Any suggestion on that?
Yeah, ask her to, where you're at, to ask her where she's at right now. Now, let's put this in place for right now. And at least you have something that she signed and had witnessed, so that you have something in place for right now. And let her know that she can change it at any time. She can change it every other day if she wants to. She can tell her to get something in place right now for where she's at right now. And then along the line, if she goes, oh, no, that's not what I want, that's fine. Change it. You can change it as many times as you want. But let her know that you do need something in place right now, just in case. And it doesn't, and let her know it's not set in stone until you're gone, basically, or until you're at that point where you can't make the decisions for yourself. It's not set in stone. You can change it at any time. So tell her to get something in place right now where she's at, get it signed, get it witnessed, and at least you have that. And then you can check with her every, 6 months or 6 weeks or whatever, a month at a time, and go, you sure everything's good like you want it? Anything you want to change? She can update it at any time. But let her know that it's really important to get something in place now, just so you have it. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
When I was having this decision with my doctor, and I felt like, think I'm pretty good right now. And she said, let me tell you what my parents did, both of my mom and dad. They wrote a contingency saying that, okay, if anything happens to me and I'm in pretty good health, go ahead and do CPR. But if things deteriorate and in 30 days, if I'm not better, just then stop. I don't want to continue to linger. You can put those kinds of things in there.
Yes.
The other thing is you may not want to wait till your parents get Alzheimer's. My mom, 2 years ago, I went to South Carolina because my mom had fallen, and I knew by the way she asked me, Diane, when are you coming? I knew I'd better go. So I got on a plane, I went there, and because she had fallen, they found an abnormality in her brain and had to be on pain medicines. And they said, no, she can't make any decisions on her pain medicines. But we had things, pretty much everything in place because 7 years ago, my younger sister, who was my power of attorney, I had listed her. She was years younger than me, but she was driving, like you said, taking it in your car. She was driving and got sick on the side of the road, and that's when the paramedics had to come and take her, but she didn't make it. But I'm saying that, so I had to change mine because she died, but I'm just saying that there's ways you can do it
Yes. Yes.
without like saying, yeah, for sure, no CPR, or yes, please
Yes,
do CPR.
yeah, that can be changed. You can, and that is actually in here on that section of whether or not you want to be resuscitated. Is you can add specifics in there about whether or not you want it now or whether or not you want it later. It's in there, which is really cool. And if it's not to your liking, the wording, you should change it. That's the cool thing. You can make it, you can change it, you can fix it and make it yours. Are there any other questions? Yes, Frederica.
And when my husband was sick, we sat down and had that conversation, what he wanted and everything worked out really great. I planned a meeting with my sons to have this conversation. And of course, I had to always say, no, I'm not sick, we're good, this is some things I want to do. But they don't show up. So I like your idea about the food, just have dinner, and then just bring it on them. So I thank you.
You're
for
welcome.
that. And because if I tell them this is what I want, they are not showing up.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? Come on, we want to make sure things are together,
Yeah.
But thank you so much for that idea.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And family reunions.
There you go.
Another good time.
Family reunions. I don't suggest doing it at a funeral though. Don't do it after a funeral. Oh, so and so just died. I think we should do this now. No, you don't want to do it right after a funeral. That's why I didn't say that. But yes, any other family gathering, make it happen. Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment, but then also maybe you can just touch on it. The difference between the will stuff, which is like the stuff, okay, I'm leaving this to versus the medical stuff.
Yes.
Because my parents had those things taken care of, none of the medical stuff.
Right.
So all of the decision-making regarding the medical stuff and even the medical financial stuff, the insurance, we couldn't get access to the insurance stuff for
Right.
the medical stuff for a few months. And that was very difficult to make big decisions like rehabilitation centers or PIC line procedures and things like
Yes.
that, because we couldn't even verify clearly if things were being authorized, because we couldn't check on things.
Right.
And we didn't really know, okay, she also had this secondary, she also had this. So could you just maybe touch a little bit on
Yes.
on these forms, like the different parts of it?
It's really important on this, but when you go to the doctor, they always give you this form that says who they can contact. Who can we contact and give your information to? And that's where it's really important to be with your parent and say, put my name here and my number here, or put John's name and number here, so that that person then, and it gives you three choices of whether or not you want them to have access to all your medical records and your diagnoses, whether or not they can talk to that person, or whether you just want them to know, the basics, or not at all. And so every time I go anywhere, to any physician, any specialist, I have to sign that form and put my daughter's name. I actually put her name down for information, because she will get the info. She just won't do nothing right. But she'll get the info, and I put her name down so that they know she can have my medical records. You can call her and tell her what's going on, and that's what they need to do now while they're still able to make that decision, is to put your name or your brother's name or whoever's name down on those papers as to who they can contact in case, you know, they need to share with you information of what's going on. That way you'll be able to get access to those medical records. You'll be able to find out what the doctor said to them. You'll be able to find all those things out. Otherwise, they won't, right? And I know a lot of times people go in, they just sign all that stuff anyway, but you still have to put down a name, a phone number, and an email address, and that's very, very helpful. So try and get them to do that the next visit, or just make a special appointment and go to that visit and say, I want this down on my records. As a side note, when we talk about people, if you have a checking account, you usually put down a beneficiary. That way they don't have to, your children or whoever doesn't have to fight about, my mother had, you know, $5,000 in a checking account. I need that. Well, I don't know who you are. You can designate beneficiaries on your checking account, just saying, just so you know. Because you want to try and do that. The last thing I wanted to share with you, and I have in my packet here, I intend to fold this thing up and take it back empty. I'm not taking this stuff with me. I have some books. And I only have a few, unfortunately. Thank you so much. You've been so helpful. I only have a few. But who knows how to get into your phone? Besides my kids, they know how to swipe and put in my, in my password, right? Who knows how you pay your bills online? Who knows your password to Facebook? We want to shut that account down. My email address. Have with me a few books. There are different versions of them. This one says, When I'm Gone. It's a death planner organizer. This one says, What? I'm dead? You sure? So, okay, don't panic. I took care of everything. And in this book, I know it sounds really good. I know I have one that says, I'm dead. What? What it has in it is to remind you of things like things about me, information, family information, friends, whether or not you want your organs donated, medical instructions are in here, who to contact first, important contacts, your pets, what happens to them, funeral arrangements or however you want it, work and business information, finances, your bank account information, how to get into your account, because we've got millions of online things going on. I pay all of my bills online, and so your people need to have those passwords so they can tell TEP, she ain't got no electric, she ain't here. Cut off cable, all of those things. They're going to ask you for all that information. So this little booklet, and there are several, and they're set up, some are set up differently. It helps you kind of go through and remember those things, digital accounts, what are the passwords to things, so that when you're gone, this is after you're gone, they know what to do. You can put in all your online accounts, your email accounts. There are several different ones, and I wish I had more. Your rental agreement, all of those things, where to find stuff, what to do, your personal wishes. There's just a ton of things that you don't think about. And what made me think about these was the day that my daughter came. We're in this house, and where else would I keep these? So she walks in, and she goes, Mom, where's the light bulbs? I'm like, there. In the laundry room on the shelf above the dryer. Okay, thanks. And so I have one that says how to change the light bulbs, because those are things you think, well, that's a big deal. Where did she? Yeah, she had insurance policies and she had a savings account. And she had this. Where's the paperwork at? Where'd you put it? Is it in the savings box? Is it in the left drawer on the bottom? Is it underneath the bed? Is it in between the mattresses? And they're gonna look all over the house trying to find this paperwork. This book will help them. This you can fill out along the way, just look at it and go, oh, she needs to know that. Oh, he needs to know this. And so there are a few of these. Help yourself. And then just keep that in mind when you're doing your 5 wishes. Is just maybe if you don't get one of these books, just make a list and go, they need to know where this is at. They need to know where that is at. Yes. Oh, she's getting one. So, they're just things they need to know, things we don't think about until after someone has passed away. And it's like, where's the car registration? Where's her, who's her insurance agent? All of those things. And this book helps you write all that stuff down. So that's also very helpful for you. So I thank you. Do you have more questions? Yes. Oh, okay. Amazon. Yeah, you can get them on Amazon. They start at like $2 a piece, up to, depending on what you want. They're not really expensive, so yeah, you can get anyone. Just, you can just put in, "I'm dead, now what?" And a whole bunch of different books will pop up. You got all different versions and prices and sizes, and you can fill it out. So, yeah. They're just different styles, so yeah, definitely think about that. Are there any other questions? Nothing about death or dying yet.
Well, it's not so much a question, but thank you for this information, because we went through this with my dad a few years ago, and we were able to fill this out, and it was so much helpful, because you're already stressed going through it, right? So
Yes.
it gave us so much peace. The other piece that we don't normally think about, like my mom had everything paid for before when they were living. You don't think about that. Like, you think, well, we'll just use the insurance money, but they pay for everything, the plot,
Yes.
the service, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about that. The other thing, I did buy her a book so she can write everything, because even though I'm the youngest of 5, I would be, of course, the one who is orchestrating everything. And I said, I don't want to argue and fight with my family. And that does happen. I've seen that. And so I'm getting her now to write her obituary out. And I know it's kind of gruesome, but it's like,
Nope.
I think about all these
I
things
did.
too, because I want to celebrate her.
Right.
I'm celebrating her now too, but I'm going to celebrate her afterwards. And I want to be free and,
Yep. Yeah, I
so,
don't want, yeah, exactly.
So
I
that
did
was
the
just a
same
thought
thing.
to think about that.
Yes.
Like, if you have if you can, pay for things now,
Yes. Pay
get
for
things
it
in
ahead of
order,
time.
so that way you don't have to worry about using the insurance money, later.
Exactly, and that's what I did. I'm like, everything is lined up. This is where you go. Here's the paperwork. It's paid for. You don't have to worry about go on a cruise, party, whatever they want to do with it is fine. Like I said, I just remember my mother saying, "Don't put that in the ground." So, because we think about it and you think you have to, but you really don't. But you can. It's totally up to you. And having a parent who does it ahead of time is really great. It takes it all off their plate, and all they have to do then is remember you and celebrate you. So that's when you really have a celebration of life, because it's taken care of, and all you don't have to worry about, okay, now we got to go sell a house. Where's the deed? No, right there. Look in that book. Look in that book, and everything that you want. So I thank you so much. It has been my honor again to bring this to you. I hope it's been helpful, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Well, we want to just thank both of you ladies, Dr. Tandala and Mrs. Dingle, we are better off today than we were. And we just really appreciate you coming and sharing your information with us. And we shall not keep this to ourselves, right? Go out and help others with this. Amen. Amen. Well, we just want to give you a little something. We honor you for coming today, and bless you, woman of God. Bless you. Bless you. Yes. And I'll close this out in prayer. Father, we just thank you, Lord, for this information, oh God, that we received on today. We bless the women that came and spoke and gave their heart and their knowledge, oh God, and their time. We honor them for that, Lord. We thank you for just the rest of the weekend. And even our prayer walk this morning was powerful. And we thank you for showing up on this morning, Lord. We love and we honor you. Bless the rest of your Saturday. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm sorry? Oh, yes, we do have a notary in the house. Yes. A few, 3 of them. Okay. So, yes, ask Elder Hills and she'll share that information with you. Free to grab some fruit and not the juices.